Representative Reynolds has been talking about too. We're going to have Christina on for a few minutes. Hold on one second. She's going to tell us about her debate. Then we're going to get on to all of this.
You're listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Call 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We are streaming on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and Reverend Jesse Jackson's Facebook page, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., and Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Boy, we got a lot of stuff going on this morning. How you doing, Ryan?
Good. How are you?
Hey, you planning to vote early?
Yes. I thought about that this week.
I know. Makes things a little bit easier. You'll be joining the 12 million people who've already voted early. And so everyone, if you're having trouble at the polls, remember, call 1-866-OUR-VOTE, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. If you're also having trouble at the polls, if you're in the Chicago area or just around the country, call Rainbow Push, 773-FREEDOM, 773-FREEDOM. We've got people everywhere. And of course, please go to 1-866-OUR-VOTE. You have lawyers who are standing at the ready, who will help you if you get there and you find out you've been purged. I mean, there's just so much that can happen in this process. And then, we still have a lot of people who are undecided, Ryan. A lot of people are still undecided. A lot of people don't know the importance of voting down ballot. Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson is going to talk about that because, all of these trials that we've been watching, those are local, state, and county elections. Mm-hmm. So everybody, we're fixated on the presidential election, and that's important. But the people who impact how you live, well, they're down ballot. Really, the presidential election itself is controlled by each state. That's the way they structured it to protect slavery. That's another story for another day. But always remember that so much in this country was predicated upon the protection of slavery and the increasing of it, and then the ending of it. And how do you do that? Because we've never in the history, I don't think in modern history certainly, has an enslaved people remained with their former masters. You're always sent elsewhere, which is why the plan was to send Black people to Liberia. They created Liberia and Africa, Liberia, liberty, to get us out of here. But Frederick Douglass and other leaders said, no, not so fast. We built this country. Now we're here. So you had to have an amendment to end slavery. Yeah, to make us free, make us citizens, and to give us citizenship, and then the vote. Because we weren't citizens, even though we've been building this place since the 1530s. So think about that, everybody. Think about it. So let's talk today. Everybody, I'm going out to California, but a lot of people going to are really trying to make their minds. Christina Tobin from the Free and Equal Debates Foundation is with us this morning for a short while. I'm so glad that you got up real early in California. You're having a debate this week on Wednesday. What's going on in Los Angeles?
Thanks, Santita. I lived in Chicago, grew up around there. My dad would get me up at 4 a.m. every morning, so 5 a.m. I'm kind of used to it.
Bless your heart.
Free and Equal Elections, my nonprofit, it's been around 16 years. We've been hosting presidential debates since 2008. This will be our 5th cycle. And so for this year, we're holding our already 4th presidential debate. It's going to be in Hollywood in Los Angeles, October 23rd, from 8 to 10:30. The debate was 2 hours. It's been expanded to 2.5 hours now. And we have 3 candidates confirmed from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th largest parties. Dr. Jill Stein of the Green Party, Chase Oliver of the Libertarian Party, and Randall Terry of the Constitution Party.
Fantastic. Because, a lot of people still haven't made up their minds. And it's very interesting because the plurality of Americans are independent. Now, do they skew toward the Democratic and Republican parties? Yes. But increasing numbers are moving to so-called third parties. They're moving to other parties. Certainly they want to hear what everyone has to say. What is the point of having the debate? I guess this late in the season, some people would ask you, Christina. Christina Tobin, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be 5 a.m. We're still
It-
waking up.
It's okay.
Our co-moderator, Dave Walker, I'll be co-moderating with former U.S. Controller Dave Walker. And one thing he'll be addressing at the debate is that, yes, we are missing the two major presidential candidates. They've been invited, spending a lot of time, insulting really one another rather than debating and focusing on issues that are real concerns. So while we'll be addressing issues from debt to war to inflation to housing, and the list goes on and on, there's a bigger vision that's brewing here beyond the presidential debates. Free and equal elections is really sparking a truly independent movement. It doesn't lean right. It's not the insular left that is, or even the insular right that's building. It's truly independent and invites candidates, alternative party candidates, even the mainstream party candidates, independent candidates to be a part of our debate. And we'll be announcing at the end of this debate, not only can people vote on our blockchain voting app, it's really cool for you to talk about Greg Palast with the voter suppression, as in cool in the sense that I see reform and solutions on the horizon. And one of the solutions is blockchain voting, and people will be able to vote their favorite candidate via ranked choice voting at the end of the debate. But also, this is going to be the kickoff for the United We Stand tour. So throughout the debate, which will be broadcast live on Scripps News, C-SPAN, Rumble, KPFK. They'll be broadcasting in studio. We have TikTok influencers coming in, pretty big ones too. This is going to be the kickoff for the United We Stand tour. So throughout the debate, there's actually going to be at least 10 different artists now performing from all different types of genres of music at 432 hertz frequency energy of music, really is the healer for our nation. And that's the bigger vision that's going to break out of this presidential debate series on October 23rd. And you can watch it live stream. It's open source. Sure, we've had a lot of media ask for it to be exclusive to them. I won't. It's open source to the people. So you can go to freeandequal.org and sign up for the live stream today.
All right, everybody. Christina Tobin, Free and Equal Debates, everybody. Free and Equal Debates. Again, how can we key into that?
Santita, I am so grateful you're going to be joining us again. It was an honor having you in our third debate this last July, opening up, singing the national anthem in front of thousands of people. And I sat next to Congressman Thomas Massie and co-moderated that debate. Representative Thomas Massie is following Congress. He's the one standing up really for transparency within our congressional elections and candidates. And how you can support, the debate is, well, we're going to see you, Santita, again, open up with the national anthem. I have never heard such a beautiful voice. I just have to take a moment. Your voice brings me chills of hope and change. And you are your own person, but the inspiration and how, and the inspiration of what you've garnered from your mother and your father and who you are is just so uplifting. And thank you for being a huge guide for me too, Santita, off the air. And your wisdom here. And so, yes, you can go to freeandequal.org and watch the debate October 23rd. Sign up for the live stream. It's a high-end production event. The venue is private, but there was Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, and others have been shooting there recently. So we're really honored the arts have backed this debate series. I've broke it out of the political realm. So it also does support the debates, but the arts and music and festivals has really come in to carry this debate series into the United We Stand tour next year. So yes, you can go to freeandequal.org for more information. And the United We Stand tour is about uniting conscious artists and thought leaders, organizations, and candidates. We're going to be asking candidates running for Congress to join this tour through 2025 and so on. And I foresee us replacing most members of Congress with accountable individuals, replacing these and ours alike, because most are just not representing us. They're representing big money, powers that be, lobbyists, AIPAC, you name it, and more. And frankly, the people here in America, I can say with confidence, we want peace. We don't want war. And I believe that's the case throughout the world. So, Santita, thank you so much for supporting this like no other. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, really, and building this movement with you for the years and decades to come.
Well, absolutely. And just you're doing a lot of great, 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 great work because we've got to open up the process. I mean, indeed, coming out of Chicago, as you do, and Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson, of course, and Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. Reverend Wilson, uh, we come from a system that was closed that did not give you space in Chicago, and so fighting for just fighting for space for to have all of our voices heard has been we've been engaged in that fight for years and years and years. And so we do hope that you will tune into that debate because you're going to hear some other voices. It's important. I saw on C-SPAN Reverend Dr. Wilson and Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, uh, Ross Perot from the 92 debate, and it was so refreshing, and he was prophetic because he talked about the giant sucking sound that the passage of NAFTA would create for American jobs. And we're trying to undo NAFTA to this day. In fact, according to reports, there were papers that President Trump was set to sign to end NAFTA, but the intelligence establishment inside of the White House stopped him from doing it. Those are reports. And so this is not about advocating for anyone other than the people, Reverend Wilson. I mean, I want the truth out there so that we can get our jobs and so that everybody all around the world, in the United States and all around the world, can be paid a prosperity wage. Because now the reports are coming out that Elon Musk, did you know this, Ryan Lee? Most of his money comes from government contracts. He's the wealthiest recognized man on earth, really. The wealthiest family is the royal family of England. Don't ever forget that. They control land all around the world. At one point, Queen Elizabeth controlled 1/6 of the land mass on earth.
Wow.
Owned it. Wasn't the crown, it was she is the crown. And now her son is. So, Reverend Wilson, what about, people, because some people haven't made up their minds. And even about voting, Reverend Wilson.
Well, I think many people are confused. They don't understand all of the rhetoric that's gone between the two presidential candidates and their vice presidents. Most people are focused on daily issues, crime, access to a livable wage, not just an affordable one, but one that I can take care of my family. You have a lot of single parents. They're worried about education. What's going to happen with my children? They're closing schools, they're cutting funds for education, closing charters, opening elite schools, but not fully funding schools in neighborhoods. People are worried about bread and butter issues. I can't go to the grocery store and buy groceries that will feed my family and allow them to be healthy. People are concerned about access to health care. And so I would say that those people, you got to vote this time. This is something that will help you live better, really. It's not about just the top of the ticket, but you got to go down ballot. You got to look at who's my congressperson, who's my U.S. senator. Why? Because they pass legislation and they appropriate funds for education, for health care, for Medicare, Medicaid. And so you got to look at those people because you want people that talk to you, that have services for you. I have a congressman that I really respect, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, because he has town halls and he brings these resources to the community, resources that most people don't even know about. Where do you go to get things? So he does that. We expect every congressperson to have a town hall so I can know what services are available to me, who should I go for certain kinds of things. Well, you don't want to stop at the U.S. congresspersons. You don't want to stop at U.S. senators. They're important offices. You want to vote for one of them. But then you go down the ballot where really policy is set at the state level. All these voting rules and regulations, those are state representatives and state senators. Many of you don't even know who your state senator is, who your state rep is. Well, you need to know because those people decide how much money schools will get. They decide about rules about the criminal justice system, how it gets reformed. Today is the anniversary of the murder of Laquan McDonald, a child that had grown up in the state DCFS system. murdered inappropriately by a police officer that wasn't called to the site. How do we regulate policing? All police officers are not bad, but the bad ones shouldn't be moved from city to city, state to state. We have to have better criminal reform in the justice system. That happens at the state level. And then you don't want to stop at state reps, even though they have a lot of power. The state senators, you got to go to the county. You got a county sheriff who runs the county jails throughout the country. You need to know who that is, and do you want to keep that person? And what are they doing to make sure that the state needs to make sure that voting occurs. If I've done my time, I've gone to jail, committed a crime, I've served a time, I need to be restored to citizenship. So I got to know, make sure that my state legislators agree with that. Most of us have a relative who's been in jail, on their way to jail. So you want to make sure that the laws regarding incarceration are fair, just, and citizenship is restored once you've completed your sentence. Because the other can go down ballot. We're not done. Most of us will see a judge before we see any of these other people. You're going to go to traffic court. You're going to go to family court. You're going to go to probate court. You're going to go to the law division. You inherit, maybe you want to sell some property. So you're going to see a judge. You want to know who they are. Don't just try to figure out that based on the last name. You ought to know those judges because they're coming from your community if you live in Chicago, in Cook County. But wherever you live, you're electing judges. One of the most important offices. They're always at the end of the ballot when you're tired. Rest yourself before you go to the polls. And then the final area, school board. We treat that very casually. You need to know who sits on your school board, your library board, and other local boards that you take for granted. You want to make sure those people represent your thoughts, your issues. So if you're in the barbershop, the beauty shop, where your nail shop, you need to be focused while you're sitting there. You got nothing else to do. You're under the dress, start thinking, who am I voting for? I got to get my list together so you can vote. Vote early because you know the weather be strange and you get confused. So vote early where you can take your time. Or vote by mail.
Absolutely. 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 Vote. Really. And tune in so that you can make up your mind. You need information. The free and equal debates on Wednesday. In the meantime, let's talk about the vote. And of course, October 21st, tomorrow, Rainbow Push, 6 p.m. Meet Greg Palast. Let's look at Vigilantes Inc. Let's talk about the voter suppression hitmen, the new ones. Back in just a minute. Okay, you can get T.O. I gave you all the numbers, right? Because I sent you a revised.
Yes.
Okay, great. See, I tried to get on top of it. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds.
He's my favorite. I don't even live in Texas.
Oh, look, I wish we had him.
on the phone for this one.
No, okay, well, we want this guy, I promise you.
This is the main guy.
That was so powerful the way you broke it down. I mean, if I was a regular person and I didn't know, I was like, yeah, I need to vote down ballot because that was very comprehensive. You really broke it down. Thank you for that. I think that resonates with you.
Good morning.
Made it plain.
Keep Hope Alive. I'm gonna get you locked in with Santino.
Thank you.
Okay?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
I want people to figure this out.
very succinct.
T.O.'s on Santino.
Okay.
I just picture someone saying, yeah, next time I'm in the barber or beauty shop, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do what she said do. Get the ballot. Hopefully you're sitting there playing on your phone or chit chatting or whatever.
Well, you know what I think it will also force judges to campaign.
They need to get their bus out of it.
Yeah, but we make no demand, right?
But we don't demand it. You need to. And Representative Reynolds, you should go to those smoke shops. And those guys are talking all kind of politics, all kind of religion. I'm trying to connect from Santita to Steve Thurston. Yeah, because they have a whole network now. They have a live podcast. the Great Smokehouse. Steve Thurston has had one. He's a part of that group. 'Cause
Okay,
Nana
you know,
Bear,
reach out to him. I need to see Stephen anyway.
You know what?
well, you won't see him because he's
You're right.
out of the country. But
Those
All right, here we go.
they call them hookah lounges.
yeah, hookah lounges, smokehouses. We need to go there.
Oh,
need to
and
go,
you know,
you know.
well, hold on, stand by, everybody. We're coming to you, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, and to you, T.O. Hardeman.
You're listening
Okay,
to
stand
Keep
by.
Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Call 1-866-59-4-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673.
Hey, everybody. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Meet us at Rainbow Push tomorrow night at 6 p.m., 930 50th Street in Chicago. We are going to be watching Vigilantes, Inc. Yeah, Vigilantes, Inc. You might not have heard of them, but they're really the KKK. They rebranded themselves because the KKK was not a great name, right? So they're the new hitmen in American politics, the voter suppression hitmen, Vigilantes, Inc. And we're going to have the documentarian, Greg Palast, with us. And we're going to have a discussion. Someone who will be part of this discussion tomorrow will be T.O. Hardeman, fresh off his show on WVON this morning from 6 to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time every Sunday. Having a great time with him. Before we pivot to you, T.O. Hardeman, we're going to talk with Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, as we just listened to. Oh, yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Please give it to us. Because you all, well, you ought to be, but you got to help me. Because look, I need some guidance. You had 1 million people kicked off the voter rolls in Texas. I don't know how that happens. And yet now we have 12 million people who have voted in the United States, early voting, according to CNN this morning. And that's from the University of Florida's voting labs. And then, of course, we have more than 1 million people have voted in Georgia. You're excited. Why? Help me.
Well, I'm excited now because this is decision time. This is the time where we, as the American people, hold the power to hire and fire the people who are going to make decisions on our behalf. And just like the good Reverend just talked about, this is our time to decide who we're going to empower to make decisions that can help benefit our community, our local communities. And when I want to say this, Santita, when I hear people say, well, I don't do politics. Well, politics is going to do you, whether you vote or not. If you don't vote, then you might as well forfeit your right to complain. Don't complain about what's wrong with your neighborhood schools. Don't complain about the police. Don't complain about disparities within our criminal justice system. Don't complain about wages and climate. Don't complain about nothing, because when you don't vote, you don't exercise your voice. Then you don't have a right to complain. You're on the sidelines playing armchair quarterback. This is time to get on the field, to be engaged. One of the things that some people opine, Santita, is that, well, if I was in the civil rights movement, I would have did blah, blah, blah. This is our civil rights moment. This is the most critical election of our lifetime, where decisions are going to be made to impact generations to come. We can't afford to mess this up. We don't get a do-over. We don't get a second chance. This is our opportunity right now. And in Texas, early voting starts tomorrow. And guess what? I'm voting on day one. I'm so excited to see the record turnout early right now in Georgia, but we have far more people that need to vote. We have a lot of voters that haven't voted since they voted for Obama. We have some people that haven't voted at all. And so we need every single vote. You know what, Santita? There are elections that I've seen that were decided by one vote in a local election for city council. There was another election I knew for state representative that was decided by a coin toss because they had the same amount of votes. And so every single vote counts. Let's do our part to be on the right side of history, to empower people from the top all the way down to the bottom, whether it's school board. Because I don't know about you, but the most determinative value of property is the neighborhood schools. And I'm sick and tired of these school boards banning books, deciding curriculum, who decides who the superintendent is to operate and manage the schools. and hire the principals? It's the superintendent. Who's the superintendent's boss? It's the board of trustees. Who elects the board of trustees? The community. So that means the power resides in the people at the local level. Who decides who's the police chief? It's the mayor and the city council. Who decides who's the mayor and city council? It's the community. Who decides who gets prosecuted? Who goes after the criminals? It's the district attorney. Who decides who's the district attorney? It's the people. Everything goes back to elections. That's why I said at the outset, when you say you don't do politics, politics does you. And if our vote didn't matter so much, Santita, they wouldn't be working so hard to take it away. That's why I want people to, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Mhm.
We've seen these recalcitrant people that want to take away our precious fundamental right to vote, because guess what? They don't want black and brown people voting. They don't want people voting because they want to hold the power. And the only way that we allow them to win is if we sit at home. So yes, let's get fired up. When we fight, we win. But yes, there's so much at stake, and I think this is our Super Bowl. This is where the stakes couldn't be higher. We determine who's going to be the winner of it all. And the most important thing is that many of our ancestors, they really did pave the way for this moment that we have. And we are our ancestors' wildest dream. Let's not turn that dream into a nightmare. Let's go vote. Let's do our part. On our watch, we're not going backwards. We're going forward.
And it's so insulting to the ancestors to say that your vote doesn't matter. And I'm tired of hearing about that. And it's insulting to the ancestors to say that we have not come far. You don't have to sit on the back of the bus. No, wait, hold on. Wait, whoa, no. The thing is, what they've done, Frederick Douglass did his part.
He did his part.
Okay. Dr. King did his part. Reverend Vernon Johns did his part. Adam Clayton Powell did his part. Jesse Jackson's done his part. Reverend Jesse Jackson's done his part. All these people, Whitney Young, James Farmer, these people did their part. Now, what about you? What are you going to do?
That's the question we have to answer. Dr. King said it this way: life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? So in order for us to do for others, we have to first do for ourselves. And that means we have to go vote. We have to do what Michelle Obama said. We have to do something. We have to get off our behinds and make a few minutes of our time to go vote. And unless you wait to the last minute, like election day, you're not even probably going to be in a long line. That's why you make a plan to vote early or vote by mail.
Mm-hmm.
You do what you can. Don't make an excuse, because anything can happen if you wait to the last minute on election day. It could be a bad, catastrophic weather. Well, guess what? They're not going to give you a do-over. They may extend the polling time, but they're not going to extend the voting day.
Mm-hmm.
So do your part and vote early. We say vote early and vote often, but you could only vote one time, so we don't want to get anybody in trouble. Stop making excuses. It's amazing how many people can make excuses about why they didn't vote versus the time that they could. While they were making an excuse, they could have voted already.
Mm-hmm.
Go down the street, go vote, and be done with it. And then encourage a friend and a family member to vote. Go post it on your social media. Challenge. Let's have a great challenge to see how many people we can get in our sphere of influence to go vote. And I think we can make it fun. Let's make it exciting. This is not a something that's bad. This is good, because think about the countries where people still can't vote. We have a very great responsibility, but that responsibility can be taken away because they're trying to do that very thing right now. They're trying to take us back and reduce voting rights, make it more difficult. That's why it's so important that we pass the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, so that we can protect states like Texas, Santita, how we met, that were trying to disenfranchise communities of color and did. And just like you said, Governor Abbott purging over 1 million Texans, that's another form of voter suppression. Well, that's why we need federal voting legislation to stop the Governor DeSantis, to stop where your mother was born, and I think you said in Florida. these governors are just run amok. We got to have federal legislation to stop it. But you're right. Right now, it's at the state level. That's why we have to vote down ballot to take over these state legislatures, to take back the state houses so that when they do redistricting, we don't get these gerrymandered maps that favor the politicians pick the people, where the people don't pick the politicians. Enough is enough. We got to send a message. We got to go vote.
Amen to that. I mean, T.O. Hardeman, of course, WVON radio host, and of course, Violence Interrupters, brilliant organization here in Chicago. But he's been traveling all around the world interrupting violence, of course, every Sunday from 6 to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. And he'll be part of the panel. I hope that you will too, Reverend Dr. Wilson, as we discuss after Vigilantes, Inc., just what we have seen, because people do not know. I mean, you've seen it. You and I have both seen this multiple times, Reverend Wilson. I mean, every time you see it, it's just, you're just stunned by the fact that, really, these people really, really are working overtime right now for you not to vote. I don't know if we're as aware of this movement to keep us from voting. But what's on your mind this morning, T.O. Hardeman? What are you hearing from your audience?
Yeah, what I'm hearing from the audience, first and foremost, I want to let everybody know I did mention on my radio show the event at Operation Push tomorrow. We're going to watch the Vigilante documentary on people trying to purge the votes, especially throughout the United States, definitely in the state of Texas. And a lot of people said they might be coming out tomorrow night. Santita, I just want to make you aware of that, right?
No, bless your heart. Well, you got to be there.
I'll be there for sure. I'll let everybody know that as well. Right? So when it comes down to what I'm hearing on the street, see, right now we're on the brink of having one of the most historic elections in the history of the United States. We have an African-American woman running for president, and we have an ex-felon. So a lot of people are getting hyped up for Mrs. Harris. I want to say that. And then some people are getting hyped up for Trump. But the reality is this here: if we suppress votes, then it's going to take a lot of momentum away from whoever might win. See, it's in the favor of the Republicans if they suppress the vote. All right, I want to put that out there. And that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people on the ground level. But you have people that are, it's really strange because right now the race is pretty much, according to some polls, Santita, at 48%. Each candidate is at like 48%. And I believe Ms. Harris should be further advanced right at this point. But we'll see what happens. Sometimes the polls are not right on the mark. Some margin of error of about maybe, 1 to 3%. But when you talk about what I'm hearing on the ground level from African-American constituents and from some Hispanic constituents and some Caucasian constituents, is that the country is just divided right now. Some of the policies that are taking place, I think two policies that are major in people's minds right now: the conflict in the Middle East, number one, and number two, the economy. That's what it's coming down to right now. Who's going to best serve and work out a solution for the economy? Who's going to bring an end to the conflict over the Middle East? And that's what I'm hearing in a major, major way. And there's no easy answer to the conflict over there in the Middle East. It's going to take, like I said before, the United Nations to get told to become more involved with trying to reach a peace agreement over there and stop putting the entire ownership on the United States. So whichever candidate can express that particular issue the proper way. And the reason I mention this, because you look at the state of Michigan with the Arab vote there, what a lot of people are saying is that the Arab vote can make a big difference. So it's coming down to these little clusters of voters out here that can determine the next president of the United States. But make no mistake, this is the most historic election ever in the history of our country.
Do you think that people really understand how important the vote is, and how do you think they also understand the movement to stop them from voting, T.O.?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand the movement to stop them from voting to a degree. Like, there's a lot of misinformation about ex-felons not being able to vote, but the majority of states restore voting rights for ex-felons once they serve their time. So, yeah, a lot of people need to become a little bit more educated. That's why they should come out to Operation Push on Monday, October 21st, tomorrow night at 6 p.m. to watch this documentary so people can learn more. So, and then also a lot of times some people, a small fraction of people have given up on the voting process. People have given up because they feel we have not really received any type of benefits or reason. Why should I vote? And I don't see no change in my community. So we have to, the people that are running, it's incumbent upon them to really educate the people on what they're going to do and make sure they keep their words, because a lot of times people don't a lot of people have given up hope in the political system. That's a small percentage though, Santita. So, but I don't believe people really understand the efforts to keep them from voting. I really don't think they do. And I teach the history of civil rights from the year 1954 to 1970 at North Park University. And if a lot of our people understood what our forefathers had to experience and go through just to give us the right to vote, I don't think they would actually be so lethargic when it comes down to voting. But I want to say this as well. All the fighting that was done out here to make sure that African American, black and brown people vote, a lot of times we need to educate young people so they would understand where we come from in order to see where we're going now. We have a chance to really make some strong history right now in this country. That's the only thing I have to say about that, Santita.
Tio Hardeman, everybody, WVON from 6 to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. The vote is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. I mean, do you think that we understand what is the responsibility of constituents after we've elected you? Do we anything?
This is where people let their foot off the gas. You vote, and then you hold your elected official accountable. And what do I mean by that? They made certain campaign promises, right? They said they were going to do this, or they're going to do that, or they weren't going to do this, or they weren't going to do that. It is your responsibility to hold them accountable, to follow their votes, follow their actions, and see if they are doing what you entrusted them to do on your behalf. And that is something that most people don't do, right? They vote, and then they say, well, nothing changed. Well, the only way it would change is if you stay on their behind.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay engaged. You have to stay informed. You have to keep up with what they're doing, not what they're saying, right? A lot of politicians say many things, but they don't deliver. Well, it's your responsibility to make sure that if they're not delivering, that you are making some noise so they know you're watching, right? And then you let them know that they haven't fulfilled their promises and that you won't be supporting them again. That is how you get the attention of these elected officials, is by staying engaged, because you know who's staying engaged and who's watching? Those lobbyists that are paid by special interest groups. They're watching, they're holding them accountable because they're giving them campaign contributions and they have certain expectations. Yes, they do have expectations when they making tens of thousands of dollars in campaign contributions. They're not just doing that for what they call good government. They're doing that because they want something. Well, the power really vests in the people, because you're the only ones that can hire and fire. But oftentimes, Santita, people they aren't engaged, and they don't even know what their elected officials doing until it's too late. So stay engaged, make your demands known, visit their offices, write letters, go to their town halls. You know, in town halls, it's like crickets in there. Not many people attend unless they're angry about something.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be angry about something to be engaged. Be proactive, not reactive. That is the responsibility of the citizenry, is to hold the elected officials accountable. So it's two steps: to vote and then to hold accountable. If we do those two steps, we will have the representative form of government that our Constitution was designed for.
Hey, everybody, get out there and vote. And when you do vote, because 12 million Americans already have, 1-866-OUR-VOTE is the number you need to call if you run into any issue. When we get on the other side for closing remarks, Reverend Wilson, and I know you got to preach this morning, Jeanette Samuels Battle wants you to answer this question for her. She said there are at least 50 retention judges, and she's speaking for the Chicago area, with a yes or no vote. She said Google is not helping her. Is there any place that you could recommend where she can get some information on these judges that will be a trusted resource? Stay right there, because we have to do that too. And maybe this is just a new change that we're coming into, Ryan, because now whoever thought about asking judges to run? I mean, they're running, but to appear before our churches and our sororities and fraternities and barbershops and beauty shops. Well, maybe that's part of the change too, because we need to know who they are. Chaparral says they need some pictures. Amen to that. But remember, skin ain't kin. You don't know. You need to find out who's running. You need to find out what they think, like we do for the Supreme Court. And you see what they did. They didn't tell the truth. Huh.
Hmm.
Back with more of Keep Hope Alive. And we'll see you tomorrow night, October 21st at Rainbow Push at 6 p.m. Back in just a minute. Okay.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson right here on Keep Hope Alive.
I've seen this fabulous Instagram feed, everybody, that gives you practical tips on cleaning your jewelry and like separating the yolk from all this stuff. You know, if you want to take separate the egg whites from the egg yolk, you get a plastic bottle, like a water bottle, and it should be empty, of course, and you put it over the yolk, squeeze, and it'll suck it up. Isn't that great? Well, look, I find little things like this exciting. I mean, I watch the Food Network and now I'm cooking. I'm so oh yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you to go next. HGTV.
I watch these.
That's all I can watch.
That's all I watch. I watch HGTV and the Food Network.
Loving the list.
But look. I mean, and I love Married with Real Estate. And when Chip and Joanna Gaines left, but I love the Magnolia Network. I love their network too. I love it all. See, I've got to watch that because I'm between that and the news, and it drives me nuts. But Reverend Wilson, does Reverend still have his recommendation? So how can they find it? They should. So, is there? Are we posting it anywhere, or are we allowed to do that?
Can't post it because Push cannot endorse them. They can put out. Reverend Jackson can post it on his.
Can you give it to me? We can put it on his Facebook page, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I can put it on mine. Yep. Jeanette Samuel's Battle. We're going to get this to you. I'm going to get this from you, Reverend Wilson. Reverend Jackson personally has an endorsement list that might help you. I'm not saying that you should follow it, but it might help you. And what I will do is we're going to post it on his Facebook page, and I'll post it on mine. He cannot. The organizations themselves cannot give personal endorsements, but he can give a personal endorsement. Okay. So that's what we will do. We will get that for you. Okay. And so just keep a lookout on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page and the Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior Facebook page. And Robert says you're staying out of the fight about Israel right now. It's spreading, darling. It is spreading. Yvonne, how you doing, sweetie? Robert sending hello. Paula. Hey, vote, everybody.
We'll have about 2 minutes.
What you say?
2 minutes.
When we get back?
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, let me see who's here with us. Representative Reynolds. These tips are so wonderful.
Oh, hey, Santita. I'm
Hey,
here.
okay, we got CK coming up because she has opened up her office for voter protection.
Oh, that's great.
And so, okay. Okay. Carol Sanders, why don't you call in, babe? Yvonne, how you doing? Robert, that's right. Oh, you put it on your Facebook page, Robert. That's wonderful. Are you in Chicago, Robert? If you're not, if you are, or if you're nearby, please come to Push tomorrow. It's going to be great. We're going to have a really, really, really good time. Sending you so much love, my sister. And Yvonne says, CK, yay. Of course. CK is Paula's girl. That's right. And Carol Soskin already voted, my sister from another mister. I'm on my way to California. Cool, Carol. But I'll be doing a quick turnaround because I got to vote. Hey, Eric, how you doing, sweetie? Eric, I will be in Los Angeles. So call 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Reverend Wilson, I got a minute for you, okay?
You're listening to Keep Hope Alive. We want to hear
Is she still
from
there?
you. Please email your questions
Okay,
or
Reverend
comments
Wilson?
to Reverend Jesse Jackson at keephopealiveradio.com.
Hey, everybody. Coming up, Greg Palast in the next hour, John Nichols, attorney C.K. Hoffler, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, and you. Call us at 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673 tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at Rainbow Push. If you are within the sound of my voice, if you are near Chicago, please, please, please come out. Greg Palast will be at Push so that we can watch Vigilantes Inc. together and have a panel. T.O. Hardeman will be a part of that. He's still with us. And we're going to be talking about the vote, getting out the vote. 12 million Americans have voted. We need to get everybody out to vote. Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson, before you go preach today, the final minute belongs to you. Reverend Wilson?
Everyone,
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Chicago or Cook County suburbs, meet us tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Not only are we going to watch Vigilante, but we're going to talk about how we vote down ballot. You may even be able to see Reverend Jackson's endorsements of candidates in the Chicagoland area, particularly for judges. I know you're confused. Don't get confused. Just stop by Push. Call us tomorrow at Freedom, 773-FREEDOM. We want everybody to vote. Start at the top of the ticket, but keep going. Go all the way down to the elected school board. So you got to go from president, vice president, U.S. Congress. Every member of Congress is running for re-election or running to be elected. You want to vote for them because they appropriate money for education, for health care, for so many things. They make decisions about foreign policy. If you're worried about the border, pick your congressman that you want to vote for. Then keep going down ballot, state representatives and state senators. You want to vote for them because they set policy for the state, criminal justice reform. They set education funding policies. They do a lot of things that we need to know about. So you need to know your state rep, your state senator. Most of you have never met them, but you should.
Hold on. I got 10 seconds. Well, not even. That's it. Down ballot voting is it. Join us tomorrow, and she will be part of the panel too. Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson. Boom. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
Thank you for listening to Keep Live with Reverend Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website at www.keephopealiveradio.com.
Okay. Jeanette.
I think she just hung up.
No, okay. Well, I gotta get this for my brother because I knew he has a. I got to find out about his bus tour. T.O., have you heard about Jonathan's bus tour?
T.O. hung up.
Oh, T.O. hung. Call T.O. back. Tell him to get back on here. So he can say, wait a minute, what?
Good morning and welcome to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily the views of this station, but strictly of our host and his guest. To speak with Reverend Jackson live, call toll-free 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673.
Here we go.
And now, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Me and Ryan Lee. I know that's not proper English, but that's all right. Ryan.
Good morning.
Hey, Greenville.
Great.
We have a running joke. Our foreparents are from Greenville.
Yeah.
Not Greenville, South Carolina, but Greenville. I just realized that's how my grandmother was pronouncing it all these years. I'm like, okay, whatever. And she was so hard on me about pronunciation and enunciation. But Greenville. Greenville. So you planning to vote early?
Yes.
Well, you'll be. So will I.
Yes.
And 12 million Americans have already voted. It's not quite the pandemic 2020 levels, but it's high. Voter engagement is high, but we need it to be even higher, everybody. Look, even when you don't vote, you have voted. You have made a decision. Don't let other people make a decision for you. You don't want anyone choosing your spouse, do you? No. All right then. So come on, let's get with it, everybody. Let's get with it. Let's get with the vote. But if you have trouble at the polls, please call 1-866 our vote 1-866 our vote. Need to know about that. We've got a tremendous panel talking to us about the vote. And tomorrow evening at Rainbow Push headquarters at 930 50th Street. Jeanette, I hope that you'll be there. We're going to have Greg Powers. He is in town. He'll be with us in about 30 minutes. To talk about his movie Vigilantes Inc. Funny thing happened on the way to another lynch mob. The KKK decided, you know what, we're gonna have to throw this name away because that
just for a few minutes.
people are in their feelings about it. So they rebranded themselves, renamed themselves Vigilantes Inc. Well, you're going to see a lot of people operating in that spirit in real time. They're walking through the Walmart and through the grocery store just like you and me. Yeah, they're right there. And they are purging us from the voter rolls by the millions.
You're just at another place right now. I'll let her know.
We got to talk about this. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, you're still there, right? Okay, Ron. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. And of course, I'll be at the Free and Equal debate on Wednesday in Los Angeles. But before we go to break, because we still got the music going, I got a minute before I get out to break. There were 1 million people purged in Texas, voters. How does that happen?
Sadly, there was, because we have a governor that is hell-bent on winning by subtraction. That is reducing the number of people on the voting rolls. And I am sad to say that many of those people were black and brown people, people of color, people that tend to vote Democrat. They did their darnest to get these people off the voting rolls. And unless those people registered prior to, because we don't have same-day registration or on-site registration, they would not be able to vote in this election cycle. So this is the reason why they need to see the vigilantes, so they can see the mindset of people like Governor Abbott, these MAGA extremists that are doing everything they can to enact voter suppression among people, so that they know the shrinking demographic of white voters that typically vote Republican and more voters of color. They're trying to make it more difficult for them, and that is what they did in Texas under the auspices of the Secretary of State's ability to purge voters. So yes, it happened, and yes, it's real. They should ask T.D. Jakes if he was purged, because he was. So yes, this is a real problem, and we need real solutions. We need federal voting rights protection, and we need it now.
Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes, October 21st, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. You don't want to miss it at Rainbow Push. Let's get to it, everybody. Let me go get something to drink.
T.O. said he's at another place right now.
Tell him I am done with him. Call him back and tell him I'm harassing him because I'm done with him. But I'm glad he was with him.
Let me get the other two.
Okay, sweetie. I'll be right back.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by a Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Good morning, Attorney C.K. Hoffler. I'm going to get you locked in and Keep Hope Alive, okay?
Pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help from Walgreens.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE. Dinovite. It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio. Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA.
John Nichols.
Good morning, John Nichols. I'm going to get you locked in and Keep Hope Alive in Santito, okay?
Now there's something you can
Sounds
do
good.
to
Thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression. Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or inflammation increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Yes. We got you here. We'll be coming back in about 2 minutes. Hello?
I'm still on, waiting.
All right.
Okay, good.
We'll be up in about 2 minutes.
Are we here?
Yes, we got John Nichols, C.K. Hoffler, and Ron Reynolds.
And who?
Ron Reynolds.
Praise the Lord. Are we ready yet?
Coming up in a minute.
Okay, in a minute or? God, it's the first time I've gotten some boots like this. Lord. This has been a lot. Oh, okay. Ooh. CK, John, Ron. Hello, sending you all so much love. CK's running voter protection out of her office. Praise the Lord. Yes. And she needs to. Okay, I won't. I'm saying that to him.
I mean, I am.
No. You can't do that.
I'm just telling you generally.
You're listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse.
But I'm going to bring you on as the former head of the, chair of Rainbow Push, blah, 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 legal commentator. You take it from there.
Here we go.
Okay? Okay. Hey, everybody. Wait a minute. I got this on my cord. What? Yes. All these things that happen in studio. What? Hey, everybody. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you. Coming up, we will have Greg Palast at the bottom of the hour talking about Vigilantes, Inc. That is the rebranded name of the KKK, and they are the new voter suppression hitmen. It is a tremendous movie. We hope that you will join us so that you can see it at Rainbow Push. Robert, I think you said you have it on your Facebook page, right? Robert Williams says he has it on his Facebook page. And Robert, if you are in town or if you're nearby, hope you will join Jeanette. Hope you will be there, and Paula and everybody, because, there's something to be said for watching the film, and I think that you should. But to be able to sit down and talk about it afterwards. We're going to have Greg Palast there. Theo Hardiman will be there. Reverend Jeanette Wilson will be there. So many others will be there to talk about what you have seen. And of course, everybody's heading down to Georgia. John Nichols from The Nation magazine. Everybody's heading down to Georgia, which is where Attorney C.K. Hoffler, who's the chair of Rainbow Push, she is there, the former head of the National Bar Association. Of course, you see her throughout the week on Court TV as a legal analyst. She is also the host of her own show on WAOK, 11 Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. You all are setting records down there in Georgia. And of course, we've got Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds still with us. And I'm so glad that you all are here. Before I pivot to you, John, because I know you're running to church this morning, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, we get the tremendous news that 12 million Americans have already voted. So Election Day has already started. So there's that. But more than 1 million people in Georgia have voted. What is going on down there? Are people that fired up about the election?
people are that fired up about the election. I know I'm fired up. I know that if I'm just me, myself, and I'm fired up, and I know that others are. I voted on the first day of early voting, and the lines were unbelievable. I went to 2 precincts, and it was wonderful, actually, Santana, to see that. But you did feel some trepidation amongst the voters. The trepidation, I believe, and anxiety was from them not trusting what was happening in Georgia in terms of voting. Fortunately, we've had some good decisions from judges. They might go up on appeal. The Georgia election board has passed this draconian and unbelievably oppressive law that was unconstitutional or illegal, saying that they were going to be the ones to hand count the votes in Georgia. They were going to orchestrate that, and also involving certification, which would have delayed, of course, Georgia, the results of the elections, and caused many, many problems nationally. So that has been stricken right now, where a judge has found that is not consistent with Georgia law, which we all knew, but of course, in Georgia, so many things happen. So and there have been some other decisions in Georgia that judges have intervened and that have been positive. But those questions may go up on appeal, will likely go up on appeal. So people went to the polls feeling that there was voter suppression. And that's why they wanted to vote early. Because if you vote early, if there's an issue with your name, your identification, your address, any problem, you'll find out right there. And you have options. You go to another precinct, you call 866-VOTE to find out what's going on. You can complain, you can rectify an issue if you vote early. But people were very excited, and there were so many Black and brown people voting early. I mean, Santita, it is, I think there's nothing like feeling that you're being suppressed and oppressed. Mm-hmm. Because when you do, you come out fighting. And I think that's what you're doing. I think people are excited to have their votes count in this election. We always say this is the most consequential election of our lifetimes, but I really think for so many different reasons, this last one, this is the most consequential election. And Georgia knows and believes that what happens in Georgia will determine this election. And I think that's why people are, as you know, Vice President Harris is here as we speak in Georgia. She came in yesterday, and I think she's coming back. We know that former First Lady Michelle Obama as well is going to spend time in Georgia. Everyone's spending time in Georgia because they recognize the significance and importance of Georgia to this election. And they also recognize that Georgia is going to turn the tide and can turn the tide for the Vice President Kamala Harris. But even if you look at a nonpartisan effort, which is what I'm involved in, which is election protection. Election protection, we know that someone who's on this show so much, Barbara Arnwine, is the mother of election protection. It is a nonpartisan effort born out of the Lawyers Committee of Civil Rights initially to protect people's right to vote, to protect their vote. And through that effort, you have really mostly lawyers that are engaged in a nonpartisan way. So obviously a lot of Democrats like to say in election protection, but so do Republicans. They have their election protection lawyers just as we do. But it's a nonpartisan effort designed to be there at the polls, and also in the precincts, in some instances, to observe what's happening, to address issues, to escalate issues up, and if necessary, take legal action. So I'm very involved in that in Georgia.
Okay.
Through organizations and coordinating and command centering at different places. And I think that it's important to know that is a very aggressive effort because people, again, are concerned about voter suppression. And there are, I will tell you this is our university's homecoming weekend.
Thank you very much. And since I'm a bystander, I was there. Yes, thank you. Keep on going. Keep on.
That would be part of the effort that I'm doing with the National Bar Association, Central Justice Coalition, and other organizations.
And we're unbiased. It's not just because the Vice President of the United States and the soon-to-be president is a bison. That's not the only reason. But we are excited.
community. They are the ones that are going to take up the mantle. I mean, sometimes we get tired as I don't know what. I did election protection for the first time over 20 years ago. So ran it in various counties in Florida. So, it's time for other people to step up.
Sure.
That we train. So it's magnificent. But there are over 100 of them that are going to be dispatched to battleground states and more and growing. So over 100 of them were financed and everything. And Howard has really stepped up to play, as has various other organizations that are financing. Because when you have law students that travel the country to do election protection, to protect people's right to vote, to protect our voters, they have to also be housed. They have to eat.
Sure,
That's
sure.
So it's not an inexpensive venture. But I'm just so delighted to see when I see young lawyers of color and others, not just lawyers of color, all lawyers who are eager and want to protect the right to vote in a nonpartisan way. That means so much.
That's the key.
Because the communities that are being attacked are Black and brown communities. And so it means something. And I spoke to some voters. I did.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on, CK. Hold that thought, because I want to get back to your show, but I got to pivot to John very quickly before he goes to church. We don't want him to be expelled from his congregation. No. Because he'll never come back to us, CK. He'll never come back. But John, this is a consequential election. But I think everybody needs to understand, in order for the republic to be preserved, in order for us to advance democracy, to become more democratic, you got to participate. So every election, these are not empty words. Every election is consequential. Don't fall away from the process. John, what are you seeing? 12 million Americans have voted already.
Well, people are excited about this election. And it's so good to be on with everybody this morning. And I understand and respect the discussion about voter suppression. And I think it's important. I think it's vital that we keep conscious of this. Obviously, I wrote a book about the theft of the presidency in 2000 in Florida. And so very conscious of it. But I'm also conscious of something that Reverend Jackson taught us all, which is as we get closer to the election, while we have all these great teams of people out to make sure it is possible to vote and make sure the barriers are down, we also must recognize, as I think the people do, that you can vote and that at the end of the day, you will vote. And that's the critical thing. 12 million people have already taken that step. That is an epic number of people at this early stage. More will vote today. I don't know if you saw the videos out of North Carolina yesterday, where students from the historic Black colleges and universities were marching from all the different colleges and universities around the state. And these were not small numbers. We're talking
That's
thousands.
right.
And marching to the polls. We're seeing it. Early voting starts in Wisconsin on Tuesday. President Obama and soon-to-be Vice President Walz will be in Madison to launch that. You're going to see big efforts in Michigan and down in Georgia, as PK reminds us. The Obamas are going to be out in a major way. They are thrown in all in with this effort. And I think that's the thing to understand. Yes, the other side will try to make it difficult to vote. They have. This has been their history for a long time. But our focus should be very strongly on the fact that people can vote and that they will vote. Yes, there may be some barriers, but there are great lawyers, there are great activists who are in place ready to remove those barriers. And here's why it all matters. This is the thing that I think is way underestimated by our media. You know, we have a politics that is so driven by personalities that, you know, we often lose sight of the fundamental issues that are in play. This is an election about democracy. This is an election about freedom of the press, freedom of speech, all sorts of things that really matter at the core, not just of democracy, but of our lives. This is an election about healthcare, about care, meaning having the ability to stay at home if you're older or if you have a disability, rather than to, you know, lose some of your freedom because Kamala Harris has a vision to address those issues. This is about all the issues that are fundamental in our lives, education as well. And this is a core thing too. It's a real test for America. And I was speaking at a event yesterday with a lot of Native peoples, with Indigenous peoples from around Wisconsin. And what we were understanding and recalling is, of course, that in this country, Native peoples were not allowed to vote until a century ago, 1924. It was around the time when they started to knock down the barriers. The first Americans were denied the franchise, but they have it now. And there is an amazing mobilization going on across this country. So we see something big happening. And why is it happening? It's happening because of all those issues, but it's also happening because something amazing has occurred. The child of immigrants from India and Jamaica, a black woman who went to an HBCU, as you've just mentioned, who has shown remarkable skill, come up as a lawyer and state attorney general and U.S. senator, vice president, is now competing for the presidency of the United States. That in itself says so much about the progress we have made as a country. Now, I think an awful lot of people, and I hear this from people, multiracial, multi-ethnic, and understanding that if we want to lock that progress in, if we want to make that progress real going forward, this is the election where you can do it. This is the place where your vote really does have a consequential impact, not just on all those issues I just mentioned, but also on our understanding of our country as a diverse, wonderful, joyous, possible country. They call it the American experiment for a reason. It is an experiment to see if we can get things right. We have often gotten things wrong, but any scientist will tell you that when you're doing experiments, you're going to get some wrong before you hit the mark. This is the election where we can hit the mark, where we can have an incredible breakthrough. And if I can just tell one quick story, this week had an incredible thing happen in Arizona. Ruben Vallejo, who's running for U.S. Senate out there, in a very critical race for an open U.S. Senate seat, he made a promise to visit every Native community in his state, to go to every center of indigenous population in his state. And there are about 20 of them. Arizona has a lot of folks. And so that he was demanding, but he was delighted to do it. The last community he visited, the most isolated in Arizona, is a community of folks who live at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, the bottom of that Grand Canyon region. So this week, he put on a backpack, a pair of hiking shoes, and hiked for 8 hours. I want to emphasize that. Hiked for 8 hours down into a valley to meet with Native people, to listen to them, to embrace them, to sing with them. As he walked in, he took off his shoes and stood with them on that ground where their people have been for generations. And that is the level of respect we should all expect from politicians, right? We should expect that they are willing to go 8 hours in a difficult, hot, complex walk to listen to us, to hear us, to connect with us. We know that there are politicians who will never do that, who are so self-absorbed, so in their own head that they could care less, and they certainly aren't going to sacrifice for us. But there are political figures who are willing to sacrifice for us, for the whole of our people, for the whole of humanity. And that wonderful reality, that possibility is on the line on November 5th. And people across this country, as CK and others have pointed out, there are a lot of people who are so excited by that prospect that they're coming to vote early. And by the time we get to election day, I will promise you, we'll have more people have locked in their vote by actual election day than at any time in the history of this country. That's what's going to happen with early voting. And election day, tens of millions more will come, especially the young people lining up outside those polling places across this country. This is a possible election. And so what I'm seeing is something, so good, so hopeful that I want to keep that front and center.
Well, you know,
Never forget about the threat. But also understand the possibility.
but you know, I think that Black people have to be reminded oftentimes because there is a concerted effort, just as there was an effort in the 60s, John, to get Black people not to vote, in particular, Black folks not to vote. And so what fired us up was getting angry about it, and not angry in a destructive way, but in a constructive way. So, and sometimes when you think that when you've been free for a minute, sometimes, Ryan, you think that everything is fine. That's why the response today from a lot of young people was, we've made no progress. I thought this was one already. No, you need to understand, as Reverend Jackson also says, slave masters never retire. They don't retire. They change their attire, but they don't retire. And so to let people know, no, some folks are actively working to take this from you. It will make some people think. I just saw a post on Instagram from a young man who was talking to us about the Electoral College. He was like, wait a minute, it was always to help us to protect slavery. And so when you say that to people, particularly folks who never had colored water fountains, who didn't fight at Woolworth to sit at the counter when you still had such a thing to get lunch, when you have these kids who have experienced nothing but freedom, and white kids who don't know anything about Jim Crow, who don't know about formal redlining, even though informally it happens every day, they have to know that their vote is under threat. I mean, and I understand what you're saying, because Reverend has always been very, very careful to keep us uplifted, inspired, but he also would let us know, wait a minute, now let me tell you what's coming at you, so we can be ready. I've got about 30 seconds for you.
I want to carry that perfect message forward, and that is that we have to be on the guard before this election, on election day, and after the election, because the reality is the threat to our voting rights extends through that whole arc, before, during, and after. At the same time, we have to tell people always that it's going to work.
That's right.
That all of these committed people, the people you're talking to today, Greg with that brilliant film, which I saw just this week, and it's so good. CK with all of her work. This is going to work. We're going to knock those barriers down. We're going to make it possible for everyone to vote. And where it is possible to vote. And when we do that, that will be transformational, because it is still true, as the Reverend Jackson taught us. When there's a high turnout election, when people really turn out, multiracial, multi-ethnic, across lines of class, across lines of region, when that happens, progressive ideals win.
Absolutely.
And when those ideals win, the will of the people becomes the law of the land. This is such a possible moment. So honored to be on with everybody. I've got to go to church. I want to emphasize that
10 seconds.
Greg, you're going to hear more from CK. This is really vital stuff. Hear it all. Take it all in. Be educated. Go vote.
Rainbow Push, 6 p.m. tomorrow, 930 East 50th Street. Back in just a minute.
Your opinion counts. 1-866.
Thank y'all. Thank you, John. Don't want you expelled from your congregation. Boom.
No. Right on time. I'm walking right up before I go. So excited to hear what CK's doing down there. And this Georgia thing, I would tell you.
Can you turn that up a little bit? I'm sorry.
There were a lot of political insiders who thought Georgia might not be possible. What's happening right now is changing the calculus so that everybody is saying, oh, wow, Georgia is totally possible.
Wait.
That's why.
Hold on. Because you know what? Ron, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, is he there?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I'm here.
Let me know if you have any time this afternoon, because I want you to ask John while all of you are here. What is happening with the Cruz all-red race?
Well, that race has
Good
really
one, isn't it?
tightened up.
It's good.
Yes, it is. It is. In fact, I'm having a rally in my district today that I'm helping spearhead with Colin coming out, and we have a lot of people that we're expected today, and we have a lot of momentum. The balance of the power in the Senate probably rests in Texas, or Florida, or Nebraska.
Let me know when.
I have to go.
Yes.
Let me just say quickly as I leave, and I apologize for doing this, but let me say, listen to Ron. What's going on down there in Texas that's the one. Nebraska and Florida may come into play. Texas is the one that can be done. Colin Allred won the debate this week. He dominated that debate, and that is a pivot point. You're starting to see conservative newspapers endorse him because they think Ted Cruz is so bad. And so something real is happening in Texas, and that message has to get out. Ron, you got to get it out to everybody.
But Ron, I need to know if you'll have any time today or this evening, so I'd like to do a show on that.
Sure, you got it. I'll have time. My rally with him and Congressman Clyburn is today from 2 to 3. So I would say from 1 to 4 I'll be tied up, but I'll be free anytime before or after.
Look, check out your text, because I want to talk about some of these pivotal races, particularly that one, because I think my brother was going to campaign for him too.
Yeah, I was with your brother.
Well, that's when he can get connected with you in Texas, right?
Yes.
Ah, okay. All right. Stand by. Oh, okay. Oh, hold on. We're coming up. Hey, everybody. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson tomorrow night, October 21st. Greg Palast will be up with us in just a couple of minutes. We will be showing his movie, Vigilantes, Inc. And we thank God for you, John Nichols from The Nation magazine, and attorney C.K. Hoffler, a chair of Rainbow Push, former president of the National Bar Association, legal analyst for Court TV, host of her own radio show. She also has a practice, everybody, but on WAOK every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. And John, you're right to remind us that there is hope. Hope is alive. That having been said, sometimes you need some people to fire things up for you and to understand that people are trying to take your vote from you. That's why it's so precious. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds during the break, and that's why you only have to tune into the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and to Facebook, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior page and the Santita Jackson and Friends page, because the conversations, Ryan, that we have during the break, talk about a race that's of consequence. We keep looking, CK, toward Georgia for the Senate race. Oh, no, we got a race. I tell you, this Ted Cruz, Colin Allred race crept up on me. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, because I am up at 2 and 3 in the morning because I work almost 24 hours because that's the nature of talk radio, and anyone who tries to do it right, you're looking at the news constantly. So you got to kind of watch it so you don't get burned out. But about 3 o'clock in the morning, CK, I saw Ted Cruz making an appeal on television for money. He said, I'm in a tight race. And I said, wait, I went on my little iPad because it was sitting right there. I went click, 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 click. Wait a minute. Dead heat in the polls. What? And so I just said, wait a minute. I missed this. This guy. But the thing is, Mitch McConnell is underwater in Kentucky. He is beatable. That's why what they did with Charles Booker by the Democrats not supporting him, just full on. Shameful, because we could have had that seat. This guy went from less than 5% name recognition to coming within a hair's breadth of winning that race. But this guy, Congressman Allred, he could win this thing. What's going on in Texas? Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds.
Well, we have a very, very tight U.S. Senate race. Senator Ted Cruz is one of the most disliked senators in Texas history. He has really turned off a lot of people with his extreme policies. Even people who are Republicans, who are pro-life, they believe there should be exceptions for rape or incest. Ted Cruz doesn't. He has been against any kind of common sense gun reform legislation, including raising the age to purchase assault rifles from 18 to 21. He's been against that. He's been in the pocket of the NRA. when we had one of our worst winter storms. It was Winter Storm Uri, and we had hundreds of people that passed away when we had a collapse in our energy, in our grid, and people didn't have electricity, and many people died. He fled to Cancun.
No.
There was
Wait. Stop. Say no. I know it, but I want everybody else to hear it. Come on. Wait. Hold on. Let him say it one more time. Slow it down.
We had Winter Storm Uri, one of the worst winter storms that we've had. Like in Chicago, y'all used to winter weather, winter freezing. Well, in Texas, we ain't. Hey, I'm just saying, like, so here we are, where people didn't have heat, right? We didn't. Our power, our grid failed, and we had no electricity, and many people passed away. Well, we had our elected officials, there to make sure that people stayed calm, and they were working to, get resources. Well, our very own U.S. Senator Ted Cruz was spotted at Houston Intercontinental Airport with a luggage on his way to Cancun. And so while we're freezing our A off, he is going and booking a flight to sunny skies, and so he can chill on the beach. So that didn't sit well with many people. Even Republicans were like, wait a minute, you mean we freezing and he is going to take his behind to Cancun? So he didn't announce that. He was caught by a regular Joe. They filmed him at the airport. And so he was shamed. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this was a scheduled trip. This was something he was doing because he didn't have electricity. So he wanted to get away while we suffered. So yes, Ted Cruz is beatable. Colin Albert has a chance to make history as the first Black U.S. Senator from Texas. We've never had one. There's only been, I think, Santita, in the history of the country, about 4 or 5 African-American U.S. senators since Reconstruction. And now we know we have 2 that are currently in the Senate. Well, we have 3. I only count 2 of them, but we have 3.
Oh, shame on you. Oh,
seriously, we have a real chance. And Santita, here's a point of education. The Senate is almost deadlocked. We know that the balance of power is the Democrats have a slight majority, and that is why we control the Senate. Republicans control the House right now. It looks very strong that we will have our first African-American speaker in Hakeem Jeffries. That looks very promising. And if we do our Black jobs, we know that we can elect our first Black female in Kamala Harris. But the Senate, if we know that Senator Manchin, who was questionable anyway in West Virginia, he's not running for re-election. West Virginia is going Republican. Montana, John Tester is down by almost double digits. It looks very certain that we're going to lose Montana. So the only way that the Democrats control the Senate, it could come down to Texas. So that's why this race is so important. It has really big, huge consequences, because if you have Kamala Harris as president and you have Hakeem Jeffries as speaker, and they're putting forth, for example, the George Floyd Policing Act, or the John Lewis Voting Rights, or the Freedom to Vote Act, well, it can all be blocked in the Senate. They can't pass it without both chambers. They can't even get to the president's desk.
well, but hold on one second, because I want people to understand how politics works. CK, because we are this is where we are, because it's important. You don't want Hakeem Jeffries and Kamala Harris just because they're Black people. No, that's not it. The thing is, it's a progressive agenda, but guess what? And they're moderates. you know, those are their politics, and that's who we elect, and that's it. That having been said, we have a better chance of pushing them once they are in place. Now, mind you, you got to understand you're going to have to push them. It doesn't mean that you don't like them. Stop it, everybody. But you better like yourself. And you need to get someone in there whom you can talk to. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? Am I right here? I mean, because I know you, as an elected official, it has been your experience that the people who campaigned against you, who didn't support you, well, you're their representative now. And do they not treat you that way? Okay.
But you were saying something about Mitch McConnell earlier. If the Republicans get back control of the Senate, you can have a Mitch McConnell being the majority leader in the Senate, blocking everything, or you can have whoever, and they can block everything, and we have a very do nothing Congress, right? That's what we have right now. I mean, divided government sometimes can be good. It offers some checks and balances, but when you have recalcitrant MAGA extremists, they can shut down anything that almost anything through but executive orders. Think about confirmations for the Supreme Court. Think about confirmations for judicial. CK can talk about that. That has to go through the Senate. With a Senate majority in the wrong hands, that can be catastrophic. We could talk about, many of these old Supreme Court justices. They're waiting right now to see who's going to be our next president, but it won't even matter because they can block, just like Obama, he had his nominee blocked. They can block it. So that is why it's so important that we have control of the Senate. And I hope, and I'm excited today that I get a chance to have Jim Clyburn in my district. We will have a big rally today at 2:00, and I'll be having Colin Allred, Congressman Clyburn, your good friend who spoke at Rainbow for Your Father's celebration, and where I was there, and one of my mentors, and Congressman Al Green.
Yes.
We're all holding a big rally today because we're trying to get out the vote to help Colin Allred defeat Ted Cruz come November 5th. But early voting in Texas starts tomorrow, and we are fired up, and we hope that we can make history and we can help save the United States Senate and keep it Democratic, and that's what I'm hoping that we can do. But we have a very strong chance of winning. And there's also a close race in Florida, and Rick Scott is another person that is very disliked, like Ted Cruz. And then there's an interesting race in Nebraska with an independent that is polling very well against the incumbent Republican. So those are some of the races to watch, but one of the closest ones is Colin Allred versus Ted Cruz.
CK Hoffler, I mean, you just had a big fundraiser in Washington for Kamala Harris. I've got about a minute before we bring on, is he up already?
Not yet.
Okay, we're going to bring Ted Cruz. Gee whiz. I'm spellbound. We're going to bring up Greg Palast in a hot second, everybody. Tomorrow night at Rainbow Push at 930 50th Street at 6 p.m. He will be with us leading a panel talking about, after we see his movie, CK, we're going to talk about, voter protection and voter registration and voter suppression. I think you got to talk about all of that to the Black audience and to people of color, because you see that if you have an Asian name, a Black name, a Latino name, you're more likely to be stricken from the voter rolls. So color always matters for us. It doesn't matter for other people as much because they got space. We don't have it. I mean, I've got less than a minute before, because he's actually doing an interview. So you just keep on trying him because he's running off of an interview to come and do this one. What do you make of all of this? Because what you're doing is something that is so important. You're raising money. I don't think people understand how important it is to raise money. But you know what? Reverend couldn't raise a lot of money, relatively speaking, but he raised the people. So, Yeah.
None of this, I have to just say, none of this would happen in this way, but for the playbook that Reverend Jackson designed, created, and set forth. That's why we are here. From changing the rules to showing us how to campaign, to showing us how to do a people's campaign, showing us how you can win the popular vote. All of those things your dad did, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and we owe him a debt of gratitude, and we all stand on his shoulders. So when we're doing election protection, when we're doing the event that we had in D.C. was Black Lawyers for Commonwealth, the reason why for us that was important was because there's so much, there are thousands and thousands of Black lawyers in this country who we need to be at the polls, inside, for the election protection movement. We also need them. We're leaders in our community, whether we want to be or not. That's what I always tell young lawyers. Don't get this confused. Whether you want to be or not, our community will view you as a leader, so be one. And this is the time for lawyers to step up. Why? Because we are the only ones who have the ability to effectively challenge things in court. Yes, people can do things pro se, but we don't have time for any pro se anything. We have to have our lawyers out there fighting. Everybody can fight on their level. They don't have to be in court if they're not a trial lawyer and don't want to do that. They can be sitting, they can be in the polls. If they don't even want to leave their homes, there's work to do on election protection and coordinating, escalating issues. We have lawyers right now that are working to answer election questions. They go to 866-OUR-VOTE, but there are also other hotlines. And the Divine Nine, oh my goodness. Just as when I presented the NBA during the last election cycle, the Divine Nine and all the lawyers
This is Greg Palast.
They were major and masterful. And the work that they did in our community, it's the same here today. The fact that you have a member of the Divine Nine who's running and who has a chance of winning, of course that impacts anybody's enthusiasm. But I just want you to know this is part of a tradition. We're just taking it further. And my message to all those lawyers and people that tuned into us virtually was, Santita, we got to get out of our comfort level. If your comfort level is just going to vote, that ain't good enough. You got to do more. You got to take people. You got to bring people. What I saw in Georgia, just busloads of senior citizens. This won my heart and brought me to tears, actually, at the voting precinct. Senior, because the most affected communities would be
Greg Palast.
in Georgia. We can't
Hey, Greg, I got
hand
you
out
locked in.
water.
Hey, Greg, I got you locked in.
I'm sorry?
I can get you locked in.
Okay, let me, now, is it saying?
So I think that it's so important when you see seniors coming out, early voting, and being able to vote. They didn't want to cast an absentee ballot. They didn't want to vote by mail because they didn't trust that system.
Absolutely.
And they got priority to get priority in Georgia. So it's not just about Georgia, down ballot, but Georgia is so important.
Hold that thought. We've got Greg Palast. He's spinning off of an interview, and we're going to give the last 3 minutes or so to you, Greg, because we can't wait for you to come to Chicago. Of course, you've got attorney C.K. Hoffler, who's everybody's seen the movie, but we want to see it again. And we just have one of our viewers, Robert, who's streaming it on his Facebook page because he wants everybody to see it. Oh, absolutely. So talk to us. Hello, Greg Palast, New York Times bestselling author, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, documentarian, Vigilantes Inc., America's New Vote Suppression Hitmen. We're going to see you tomorrow night.
At Rainbow Push at 6 p.m. at 50th and Drexel, and we'll be showing the movie. I'll be there to answer your questions, so will Santita and the family. So please come out to Rainbow Push, 6 p.m. in Chicago at 50th and Drexel. If you can't make it to Chicago and make it to our event tomorrow night, that is Monday night, 6 p.m., then you can stream Vigilantes Inc., America's New Vote Suppression Hitmen, and you can stream it for free. Site set up by, launched for us by Leonardo DiCaprio, called Save Your Vote, not Save Santita Vote, not Save Our Vote, but SaveYourVote.org. And you'll also have there a button where you can check your registration. You think that I've been voting the same place 20 years. Well, you've seen a film, a 50-year-old woman in a walker, 92-year-old woman who's voting at the same voting station for 50 years, and they threw her out saying she didn't live in Georgia. I went to her house 2 blocks away. You'll see this in the film, where, I see a picture of Martin Luther King on the wall having dinner with her at that house. This is Martin Luther King's cousin. If they can throw her off the rolls, they can do it to you. Go check your registration. You'll also have the voter protection numbers if you run into trouble, the 866-hour vote, other advice on how to deal with vigilante attacks, get your vote back, and most important, you can watch a movie for nothing at you can see Vigilantes Inc. And it's both horrifying. I mean, everyone's seen it. It's horrifying. It's weirdly humorous, and it gives you history that will shock you. I know it will. In fact, if you don't laugh at some parts and cry at other parts, I'll pay for your therapy. So. Link saveyourvote.org. And if you're in Chicago, no excuses. 6 p.m. Rainbow Push, 50th and Drexel.
Greg's home. Greg's Chicago home. We're not mad at you. You know, you're part of the family. You always come here doing screenings. And every time you're somewhere in Chicago, you say, wait a minute, have you talked to Rainbow Push? We love Greg Palast. And Reverend is sending him his love today. Stay right here. Going to get some closing thoughts from you, Greg Palast, tomorrow night at Rainbow Push. Ryan, you need to be there. Hello. So we can do this. Because you need to see Vigilantes Inc. And of course, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, WAOK, every Tuesday at 11 a.m. And of course, you know me, reach out to Court TV. She needs her own show. Come on. You know she needs to talk. Be quiet, C.K. Stop. Okay. Back with more of Keep Up Alive in just a few minutes.
Coming up.
I have a meeting in my other job at the same time.
Oh, honey, don't worry about it. Yeah, I got it. But we're gonna miss you.
Your pet is a
I had to say it. No, yeah, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. How about that? Yeah, I know what I want to see on TV. I'm gonna say it because it needs to be said.
So we'll have 1 minute when we come back. I'm gonna go print those other articles out.
Oh yeah, but they're for you too. You should have that information because you have access to the radio. You can't endorse anyone. What you want to do is just everybody. All great Americans need to get out and vote. Make it because this is iHeart, and it's also to be fair.
Yeah.
All great Americans get out and vote. Y'all can call whatever you want. Look, I'm not talking about a party. I'm talking about patriotism. Stay right there. Stay right there.
Yeah.
Chat with the pharmacist today.
Oh, hey everybody. I drive CK crazy when I ask for people to put her on TV more, but I mean I know what I'm talking about. Huh.
Well, I appreciate the love. I appreciate the love.
That's all right.
That's what I appreciate. I appreciate the love.
Well, you got it.
And that's really important.
I just know what I see on television, right? And Greg knows this space better than anyone. And there's some people you see. I remember there was a reporter who was on television in Chicago for decades, and I happened to see her. I think I was like maybe at the end of grammar school, and bless her heart, her first effort on television, she was so nervous she really came apart on TV, and Bill Curtis, who was an anchor, he and Walter Jacobson had the most popular show in town at the time. He touched her hand, and he said, "You know what? It's okay." Because it was so clear that she had just really come apart on TV. And as a human being, I felt for her. But they worked with her, CK and Ron and Greg, and she became one of the top reporters in her space. She was on television for like 30 or 40 years. They wouldn't give you that kind of space, CK, for all kinds of reasons. I'm saying you're ready for prime time. Let's have it. And for me, and you don't need to call for a thing. As a supporter, I'm going to say that. Because I know what I want. I'm saying there are a whole bunch of people. There's a market that they're missing because they don't have you on the air. How about that, Ron? How about that, Greg? See, because when I channel surfing and I see you, and not just because you're black, but you're a woman, you're sharp, you're all this. Paula is not black. Paula was the first member of your fan club. I mean, you got some people out here who are like, well, where is she? Now, come on, enough already. And I'm going to keep on saying it.
Remember, they want actresses and actors. They don't want thoughtful people. I had to go into exile to television to get on
That's
the air
right.
to have a big platform. And I had to go to the Guardian. I couldn't get into the U.S. papers, so I have the Guardian and BBC, which are high prestige in all over the world. But I could never get those jobs in America. They just want kind of brainless actors where the producers say, "Here's your story," and they write your words for you. I couldn't live with that, the way American news is done. So, C.K. Hall is just very much, it's so much more sophisticated than what they want. They'd be afraid of her. She'd run off the ranch and say what she actually knows.
I know. Look, I get it, but you know what? Enough. I can still hope and I can still push. I'm not thinking about these people. Yeah, because the Bible tells me if I have not, because I've asked not. How about that part?
That's true. No, that's true. And I believe my time is coming based on how I'm defining what I want to do.
Okay.
So that's and it's and I'm you have to always be strategic and know what you want to do. There's so many.
And I'm being
so many
strategic.
things.
Hold on. I got 30 seconds for you, Greg. 30. Hey, everybody. 30 seconds for you, Greg. Tomorrow night, Rainbow Push, 930 50th Street. Go, Greg Palast.
Okay, don't miss it. If you're in Chicago, 50th and Drexel, Rainbow Push. I'll be there with Santita. I'll be answering your questions about the threat to the African American vote in this election. Vigilantes Inc. Just grab your popcorn and go to Save Your Vote, SaveYourVote.org, SaveYourVote.org. You can watch the film for free and get all the links you need for voter protection to protect your vote. There's a war for your vote. They're only stealing it because it's valuable. So, and you can also go to GregPalast.com, P-A-L-A-S-T, GregPalast.com. You can get the movie there for gratis too, or get all the information you need to protect yourself. So SaveYourVote.org. No one else is going to do it for you. You got it, and spread around the link.
All right, and join me on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, every single day from 6 to 8 a.m. Eastern Central Standard Time. And then, of course, on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and the Santita Jackson and Friends page. See you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Until then, God bless you, everybody. Keep hope alive.
Thank you for listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website.
I think I'm turning into that little gnat that irritates my sister, CK. That's okay. Okay. CK, I think I'm turning into that little gnat that everybody tries to swat away at the family picnic. She is like, would you shut up? But I'm going to reach out to you all a little bit later. I'm going to reach out to you, Representative Reynolds, because I want to go over some of these races. I'll reach out to you too, Greg, because if I can get you on just so we can do another quick hit, that would be great.
And Greg, I will see you, and Greg, I'll see you in Georgia. I got to run, but I'll see you in Georgia.
Yeah. I'll send you the info. Right. I'll send you info to make sure that if there's others you want to bring in, and I'll speak to Gerald and the others today and tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
And I'll send an email to